This is Inside the Wolf's Den, an entrepreneurial journey with Shawn and Joni Wolfswinkel.
Welcome back to Inside the Wolf's Den with your host, Shawn and Joni Wolfswinkel. We are back in the den today.
How's it going?
It's going great. The weather is perfect out there. We finally are through this nasty, hot, humid weather, and it actually feels like fall.
Yeah, it was, we woke up in, what is it, in the 60s probably?
Yes.
Yeah, and it was just like refreshing. So it's the one time in Houston you can actually sit outdoors and like, man, it's nice. It's comfortable. We only get a month
Friday,
of it.
and we had breakfast outside this morning, so it was nice.
Yeah, we had a meeting with a client of ours that's a really great client of ours that's been with us for years on the private lending. She owns a lot of homes with us, and then on the fund as well. So she's a great client, and always love her feedback.
Yes,
and
I think
we talked a lot. What did we talk a lot about today?
Yeah, well, we talked a lot about parenting, but before we get there, I think it's important that you build these and nurture these relationships, right, with your clients, because not only, you obviously you're building that relationship and trust in them, but I think also you can get valid feedback from them on how things are going, what you can improve on in your business, right? And because so many times we're so in the weeds and we're trying to, navigate our office and our teams, and we're so close to it, and our clients are the ones that see that. And so if we can, bring some of that feedback to our team and say, hey, like, this is some things that they say we're doing great at, and then these are some things that we could also work on.
Correct.
So,
and I think the other aspect to all this is whether it be with clients or masterminds, I think we're all doing life together, and I think there's a lot of value you get out of these networking or conversations or meetings, and you get talking about real life stuff.
Yeah.
And if you have great people that you can bounce ideas with and talk about, there's a lot of cool things outside of business and making money and all that you can get a lot of value from.
Absolutely.
Right? And this morning was one of those mornings where it was we talked a lot about parenting, and I think if you know Joni and I, we have a 14-year-old and a 10-year-old, so we're right in it. So what we're going to talk about today is not we trust me, we haven't figured it all out. We're right in the middle of it all, and we're in the thick of it. But we ask a lot of other people for advice constantly when we meet with people who we respect and have
it all together. I mean, yes, it's not
and
perfect,
not everybody has
right?
together, but
I mean, yes, we highly respect on how they've raised their children, and we look up to that, and so today was one of those moments.
Correct, yeah, and so she's at the other side of it where her kids are in college and both attending a prestigious university, and so we always ask questions because I'm like, man, how did they generate kids that get it, want it, and are achieving in life? And a lot of children today are entitled, and we've given our children a lot, and I don't ever want that them to be just expecting money and expect us to bail them out of stuff, and be good citizens and give back and contribute to life. Right. And
right.
So we talked all about all that, but
I think it comes down to maybe a couple things in what we talked about is showing your kid, giving them that independence, right? That ability or willingness to fail, like even though it might hurt and be painful as a parent to watch them fail and want to pick them up and hand them things. What you're teaching them, if you don't allow them to fail, is mom and dad are just going to bail me out, right?
Correct. And some kids are expect that, right? That they're just and this isn't good for everybody. There's kids out there that don't have good role models, having to figure it all out on their own. But we're probably speaking more today to kids that have some means. They're in raising them to be independent children and learn and be responsible and all that, right? So, so a lot about being independent. So she gave us some good advice too this morning that I thought was worth sharing was about the independence. She looked for opportunities in life where she would allow her kids to small chunks, some of that independence, right? So whether it be riding the rail, maybe just two stops up to go get some ice cream, right? And let them go on their own. Give them some money, let them figure that out, right? And don't go with them, don't take them, let them figure that out, how to get on, how to pay, how to go to the store and pay. And
you might be on the other side of that phone, like, oh my gosh, like, what am I doing, right? Like, I'm letting my child, go on this train, and there might be people on that train that are not,
Correct. And we do that with our children. We give them some independence and have let them go some places at certain times, go figure out how to pay, go figure out how to order. We never try to do as much as we can where we give them those small little doses. So one good example was recently we have a dollar store that opened up, not right next to our house, but
you had to cross a major street to get to the dollar store, and our 14-year-old was like, kept bothering us every weekend. Dad, Mom, can I walk to the store to get some school supplies? And that's what he wanted to do. He wanted just to go to the dollar store, right? And we kept telling him no, because you have to cross a major street. So we finally decided, okay, like let's let him go, right? And so, but Mom and Dad were, I don't know,
we should just let him go on his own.
Half a mile back, just kind of watching him.
But the funny part was he, on this trip where he walked down, and then there's some neighborhood kids that were going to play, I think, basketball at there's a community center or whatever with the basketball and the pool and all that. So he was on his way walking, and the couple of boys like his age, he looks older than he is for his age. And so they were like shaking his hand, and he was, and we could see from far. We could see from far that they were like shaking his hand. I'm like, does Lucas know these kids? Like, and then they asked him if he wanted to smoke, and I think they were trying to sell him, and he was like, no, I'm cool, and he just kept walking. But then we got home, or we met him. He was freaked out. He was like, dude, he couldn't believe that they offered him. He's like, I'm never going by myself again.
But it was that moment that you had to teach him all right, like, this is life, right? You might have to go in situations like this, and they have to be confident enough and to be able to cope with it, right?
Yeah. And so some of this was just like, hey, you got to give them small little independent moves to figure life out, so that when they do turn 18 and they leave, or you send them on abroad or something like that, it's like they can figure out like how to get on the train, how to get on a flight, how to go, hotels, all this little small things that they got to figure out in life and start making those moves. So, because either they're going to go crazy and panic, or they're going to panic and freak out, and it's going to be a horrible experience, or they're going to go wild, and go just crazy because they have all that freedom. And so, and either one of those outcomes are not good, right? And so, you want to make sure that you give them some of that independence.
Yeah, and sometimes it's hard. It's not easy as a parent, right? You want to be that helicopter parent and hold everything and control everything. But you got to think, is that the best for my child in the long term?
Mm-hmm. And another tip I wanted to get, which I thought was I'd heard this at a conference, was you depending on where you are in parenting. Something we talked about this morning, just a side note, is parenting is probably the hardest thing you ever do. And we've built businesses and done everything, and parenting is still the hardest thing we've ever done. But one thing is try to reverse engineer the outcome you desire. So, what do you, so maybe take it 18, 19, whatever you think the end, or when they're going to be on their own and they're out of your house.
And what does that
reverse engineer what the type of individual you want your child to be.
Right.
And, whether it be religion, maybe it's independent, you want them to be able to leave on their own when they turn 18 and leave the house, not stay there. But reverse engineer that, and what do you need to instill in them, from now until then, so that they can get there.
The healthy habits, yeah.
Whether it be teaching them finances, how to budget, how to manage money, a lot of different aspects of life, but start putting into plan and start writing all this down as far as what the outcome you want to create. And so it's no different than like a business, or like when you're designing something, you reverse engineer it. You're trying to create an outcome for your children.
Right.
It should be thoughtful,
Yeah,
right? Not just
absolutely.
go through life, or not expect the school or the church to do it for you, right?
100%.
It should be, and those play vital roles. Don't get me wrong. Like we want to make sure, like we put our kids in a private Christian school on purpose because we want certain values to be taught and all that. But at the same time, it's still our responsibility at home to
100%.
Yeah. Another thought we were talking about this morning, and also when I went to that conference, was keeping that open dialogue with your children. And this has been something that we've struggled with recently, is yes, when they're
listening to them, right? Yeah.
So there's when they're under 10, right, and they come home and they're like
yappy. Like sometimes you're like, just stop talking for 2 minutes. I just need to like take a break, right?
Yeah, especially if you're like busy day and all that. And something I heard there was that like it's really, parenting can be very inconvenient, right? Because like it's very inconvenient for you. It's never on when you like want to talk, or when you want to listen, or you got a million things going on at work or life, and they just want to talk about some random thing at school that like makes no sense in their story. Like, why are we talking about this?
Right.
But it's really important to them. And so you just got to stop and listen and hear them out, because those are going to be precious moments together.
And I think, whatever they're talking about during that time, you mentioned this also, like those can be like lessons for them, right? So use their story on what they're focused on that moment to maybe have a little lesson in there that they can relate to.
Correct. Because kids aren't always, majority of the time, and from our experience, is that they really don't want to hear sometimes they do, they're open to it, but they don't want to be.
But not really, though.
They don't want to be taught. They don't want you to, like, we want to teach them and do all this, but they
think they're smart at 14, especially. They think that they're smarter than their mom and dad, so they don't want to listen to us.
Yeah, but if when they do open up and you have this conversation, or they're passionate about some topic or whatever, find a way to interject a theme or a message or a learning lesson within what they're talking about. Use that context to sprinkle in something that maybe you think would be valid to teach them. And so look for those opportunities. But the main thing is just open that dialogue with your children and really keeping that communication. It's going to be really important throughout. And it's hard.
It is. And I think you, more than anything, you have to be self-aware, like, and mindful when they are trying to communicate with you. Because, I mean, oftentimes, like for me, I had to stop and be like, all right, they want to talk, right? So like put everything that you're thinking about, like, to the side, like work, business wise, whatever it is, and focus on your children right now, because they want to talk to you, right? And so, and the time, guys, is so little. I mean, 18 summers really is all you get with your children, right? That is it. And at that point, at 14, 15, they stop listening to you. So.
I mean, there's statistics out there. I don't quote me if this could be totally off, but it's something like, I think by the time they turn 18 or 19, you spent 90% of the time you're going to spend with your children by that time. So like, meaning, does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's scary.
It is. It gives me chills to think that, because that's it. It's a very...
You won't get a whole lot of time after that with them. So just, that it's a precious time. And so with the conversation, we're in a period with one of ours, which it's much harder, I think, in their teenage years, from what I know it 14 for sure, but I heard like later also 14, 15, 16, they just don't want to have the conversation, because like right now it's like you come on, you ask them how it's doing. Fine.
Good.
Like you ask another question. It's all right. It's like, and then they go off to the room and they're done. It's like, it's frustrating at the least. And it drives me nuts. And thankfully I'm not the only one that's going through it. And other parents have gone through this, but it's just that time in their life. They have a lot of stuff going on in their life, dealing with a lot of emotions, stuff at school and people, just a lot of things they have to deal with in their experiences. They're just not very open to talking about a lot of stuff. But so, look for opportunities to have that time with them, whether it be, I really appreciate, and I think Joni just doesn't want. You're usually busy in the morning or get up later, so. But I really enjoy the times that I have in the mornings when I take them to school.
Yeah,
I really, that's like that time for me is really when I get to spend a lot of time with them. Have it's 20, I think it's 22 minutes exactly every morning that I get to have conversations with them, talk about stuff. Sometimes in the morning, my 14-year-old doesn't want to talk at all, but. At least it's just there's opportunities to talk and chat with him and all that. So look for those opportunities. The client that we had a breakfast with this morning, she had talked about because they're from California and her kids come to school here, and they drive every time when for the summers they drive home and then they drive back their kids back instead of fly and arrange all that because those are the times the road trips are just
able
huge.
to bond and have that time with their children.
So just look for those opportunities and look for areas where you can have conversations with your kids. I think it's going to be it's vital.
Yeah.
And those are those opportunities you can like project into them, if that's the right word. And just listen. Hopefully they ask for your opinions or your thoughts on stuff and you can interject even.
Yeah. And I think it's important to have individual time with your kids as well, because I know that oftentimes it's chaotic and one kid's like wants to talk, the other kid wants to talk, and you don't get that undivided attention to them, right? So really like separating them and having those one-on-ones. We used to do quarterly dates with our children, right? Where they get to choose. The last time we did this, we came home with a puppy, but
that's why we don't do it anymore.
But I actually really enjoyed that time individually with our children, because then we can really talk about what they wanted to talk about, and we did things that they wanted to do as opposed to what we want to do.
Yeah. The last point that I'll make is your life worth following, or is your life worth catching? Because I think if you ask this question about yourself as a parent or as an individual, like, because your kids are most likely going to follow or pick up on a lot of things you do not say, right? And that whole model. And so
what are your values?
Yeah.
You have core values.
Do you lie and steal? Do you cuss and not when you're, and because your kids are going to pick up on all that, right? Do you
100%
treat, your spouse well? And because your kids are watching that, and, how do you interact with the opposite sex, and how do you interact or behave when others aren't watching, because your kids are watching and all. And so I think that's really important. So, I thought that was key is just what do you tolerate also? And so not only what do you allow to happen, or what do you tolerate in your home? What do you tolerate with your children? Because that all matters, because what you tolerate, the more likely your kids are going to probably accelerate that even more, meaning
way more, especially today. Yeah. Yes.
So if you don't agree with it, or you don't want your kids to do it, don't tolerate it. Don't allow that behavior. And that's how a business and stuff like that, you create core values, and you create a culture, and you'll even put your core values on the wall and all that. So the same thing about home.
No different.
You should have your beliefs and your core values, whether it be biblical or not, or whatever they are, always portrayed throughout your home. And then also, like at the office, we won't tolerate certain behavior, or we want a certain way they interact with clients or interact with other people. And so if you allow, it's like if you allow an employee to come late all the time,
that's the culture you're going to create.
Then people are just going to create. Yeah, it's just no different with your children.
Right.
And so you just be mindful of that, and what you portray, and then also what you tolerate. So, God, we're speaking to ourselves right now. So
there's a lot. Parenting is tough, right? It's not easy. So it's painful.
Yes.
But we're all going through this together and learning from one another, right? Yeah. And So at the end of the day, I think your children will appreciate it down the road.
Correct. So I hope you got some out of that today. I hope some value, and we're all in this together. So we'd love to hear your comments and some lessons that you've learned along the way. If you got any advice for us, we'd love to hear it. We're always open to that. And please share your comments, email us, or share on the show notes. Share your comments and feedback. We'd love to hear that. So
yes,
hope everybody has a great week, and we'll see you all next week.
See you, everyone.
You've been listening to Inside the Wolf's Den, an entrepreneurial journey with Shawn and Joni Wolfswinkel. Tons of entrepreneurial podcasts are out there, talking. But Joni and Shawn are living it every single day. Their portfolio now includes many franchises and medium-sized businesses. We talk about the trials and motivators of successfully running a business. Join us again soon for another podcast. But until then, reach out on the website at InsideTheWolfsDen.com, on Facebook at Inside the Wolf's Den, on Instagram at Inside the Wolf Den. We'll see you again soon. This is Inside the Wolf's Den. We'll see you next time.